What is going on, guys? Dub Gaming here, and before the start of this video I'm just gonna address this, which draft classes I download. For all of these historic things I always use JVR 1717 or 317s. He's got all these he's got all these rosters. He's working on 2003, 2004 roster, and he's got pretty much every draft class from 2010 to 2016, as well as he's working on getting every draft class from 2003 onwards, look, 2004, 2006. So these are draft classes I use because he actually accurately gets people's ages right, and in general his contracts are good enough. So this is the team we have, pretty much led by Monte Ellis and Steph Curry. We actually trade away Monte Ellis and Corey Maggette, save a little bit of cap space, and we get Brandon Roy and Nicholas Batum. We can trade Reggie Williams and CJ Watson for Louis Scola. And then to get a small forward, we get Travis Outlaw. We didn't trade for the Nets pick because the Nets suck. We trade our pick, the Warriors' first round pick in what will be 2013, our 2012 first round pick, and a second round pick. We then trade Rashad Bell for Trevor Ariza, and we sign Pablo Prigioni as a free agent. So this is what our team's looking like. Steph Curry, Brandon Roy, Nicholas Batum, Luis Scola, Aaron Baines, Trevor Ariza, Terrence Williams, Travis Outlaw, and in the end we do trade away Baines for a pick, and we then trade for Dewan Blair. We get Henry Sims just a backup, and we get Ian Mahimi in the trade with Dewan Blair. So pretty much our team is extremely strong, especially for our team in its first year. We don't have a pick this year. We traded it for the Nets pick, which is looking good for us because at the minute we're top of the Western Conference. So far, the Celtics are top of the East. The Spurs are actually doing really badly in the West. And luckily enough, the Brooklyn Nets have the worst record in the NBA by 8 games. Say by 4 games. So it's looking like there's a good chance that we're going to get the number 1 pick. Leading scorers, LeBron, Durant, Wade, Kobe, as always. Then we got Brandon Roy leading our team's points with 18.3. Curry as a rookie averaging 14 and 8. Luis Scola averaging 0.1 of rebound off double-double. Ian Mahimi chipping in with some decent stats as well. So we started off really well after the All-Star break, and in the end we end up winning 66 games, which is extremely good. Blake Griffin winning Rookie of the Year, Kaman and Iguodala win Most Improved Player for the Philadelphia 76ers, averaging nearly a double-double with rebounds. Obviously Steve Kerr Coach of the Year, we won 66 games. Surprisingly enough, we don't have any of the All-NBA teams, and Andrew Bogut makes the 3rd team. We have Brandon Roy on the All-Defensive First Team. We've got Curry on the All-Rookie First Team. So we're against the Dallas Mavericks, who in 2010, they did make the playoffs, but they didn't win it. They won it the next year. We're then up against Blake Griffin-led LA Clippers, who take the first game in Golden State, but we end up coming back to win a game. We end up taking back home court advantage in LA. Blake Griffin and Kaleza, whoever he is, leading the team. They've got Chris Kame, Kenyon Martin, and Eric Gordon, so it's a solid team on paper, but they never really performed in real life till they got Chris Paul. Then we're facing the Utah Jazz in the Western Conference Finals. How this team didn't make an NBA Finals is kind of surprising. Darren Williams when he was a superstar. Paul Millsap was coming into his own. Carlos Boozer was a star. Kirilenko was a lockdown defender. And Wesley Matthews wasn't great at the time. And how that team, I think they made 1 Western Conference Finals. We ended up beating them 4-2. The Bucks actually make the Eastern Conference Finals, being led by Rashard Lewis and Brandon Jennings and All-NBA 3rd team Andrew Bogut. But the Celtics beat them in 6. So the Celtics are rated highly. They're the only team in the NBA that is rated higher than us. But even though we had a much better record, they take game 1 in Golden State. We end up losing home court advantage, and they go 3-1 up. We bring it back to 3-2 and take game 6 in Boston. So I decided to simulate with Simcast. We start off 10-0 down on our home court. So this is not looking good. Celtics with a 13-point lead at some stages in this game. So it's looking like in real life the Celtics lost 2010 NBA Finals in 7 games. It's looking like they could win it in 7 games in this. And in the end they win it relatively comfortably. They were up by 9 points. Paul Pierce winning Finals MVP. With 34 points against us. And even though we did get to the finals, we are predicted to have the number 1 pick because of the trade we made with the Nets. So it's looking extremely good. We may get John Wall to pair with Steph Curry. Or possibly Paul George is probably the best bet. And with the first pick, we end up with the 4th pick. We don't get the first pick, so John Wall goes to the Nuggets. I'm then thinking, oh, Boogie's probably our next best option, and he goes to the Heat. Derek Favors goes number 3 to the Chicago Bulls, another player that we could be looking at if we don't want to re-sign Scola. So with the 4th pick, even though we want to re-sign Brandon Roy, we have to go with Paul George and play him at the 2 with Trevor Ariza. We get rid of 2 of our nothing players. So we end up getting rid of 2 of our nothing players for our 29th pick and then trading that pick and a few other picks away for Atlanta Hawks pick next year and the year after. We offer LeBron James and Batum contracts, expecting to get at least one of them. But LeBron goes to the Clippers and Batum goes to the Spurs, which means we kind of have to get Scola back. Surprisingly enough, Andre Blatch is really good in this simulation, so we get him. We signed Darrell Wright, who's young and up and coming. We signed Willie Green, and we signed the big man, Yao Ming. So our team's looking good going into the second season. The game automatically signed Tyrese Thompson and Darko Milicic. So we've got Steph, Paul George, Trevor Ariza, Luis Scola, Andre Blatch, Darrell Wright, Yao Ming, Tyrese Thomas, Willie Green, and AJ Price. So we start off the season extremely well, going 15-1. We lose a couple of games, but we're still relatively comfortably top of the Western Conference. At the All-Star break, we're top of the conference by only a game and a half over the Oklahoma City Thunder, but we are 13 games ahead of the Bulls, who are the best in the Eastern Conference. Kobe leading the league in scoring, and LeBron James down 5th with the Clippers because he's got Blake Griffin there with him. Our top scorer actually is Paul George, the rookie, followed by Steph Curry, Andre Blatch, Yao, Trevor Ariza. So our big guys are doing work. So anyway, the award race is Steph Curry is 4th in the MVP votes. Even though his stats aren't great, his team still are the best in the NBA. But surprisingly enough, Steph Curry, even though he's 4th in MVP votes, isn't an All-Star. So we end up on a 12-game winning streak coming out of the All-Star break and end up 1 win higher than the season before, 67-15. Boogie winning out Rookie of the Year. Andrew Bogut winning Defensive Player of the Year. And again, of course, Steve Kerr winning Coach of the Year. So we've got nobody in the All-NBA first team, with Andrew Bogut making the All-NBA first team. Even though he's not with us, Brandon Roy makes the All-Defensive first team, and we don't get anyone on any of the All-Rookie teams. Which is a surprise considering the fact that Paul George averaged 18.4 points a game. So Curry averaging nearly a double-double, 16.7 and 9.9, which is a lot better than he did in his second year of real life. Yao Ming averaging over 10 points a game, which is solid. Darko Milicic, just like in real life, getting no minutes on a meaningful team. We end up beating the Blazers 4-1. This is a decent enough Portland team. Even though they do lose Brandon Roy, they still got Monte Ellis in that trade. We've got LaMarcus Aldridge, Martel Webster, Rudy Fernandez, and Greg Oden, because in this simulation he isn't injured, so it's solid enough. So we're playing the Pelicans. Who this is, in real life, this was Chris Paul's last season with them, so it's a solid enough team. They end up taking game 2 in Golden State, but we win games 3 and 4 in New Orleans. They take Game 5 in Golden State and Game 6 in New Orleans, and we win Game 7. Thank God we end up winning in 7. So we're against the Clippers in the Western Conference Finals. Eric Gordon, Blake Griffin, LeBron, Baron Davis, Francisco Garcia, Jermaine O'Neal, DeAndre Jordan, Kenyon Martin. This team, apart from Gordon and Griffin, is old, but it's an extremely talented team. And if this was from 10 years ago, it would be it's pretty much an all-star team from 10 years ago with two players who in 2K pretty much end up being all-stars. They go 3-1 up, looking like they have it. And a LeBron-led team bottles a 3-1 lead and we make the NBA Finals against the Chicago Bulls. Paul Pierce, actually, after winning the NBA title last season with the Boston Celtics, decides he's going to pack it up. After winning 2 with the Celtics, he says he's going to pack it up and go to Chicago. Chicago take the Game 2 in Golden State and they go 2-1 up. So I decided to simulate with Simcast Game 6 in Chicago. We take a big lead in the first quarter, up 14 at one stage. And we push on the second quarter to lead by nearly 20 points lead by 20 points at halftime. Even though the Bulls do get the better of us in the second half, it's a little too late. And a 22 point win, comfortable enough. So yeah, Golden State win the NBA championship with the captain Steph Curry and Paul George, the rookie Finals MVP. So this is an extremely young team our pick is irrelevant because it's not ours, and our trade for the Hawks pick works out brilliant because we get pick number 4. Well, we're predicted to get pick number 4. And in the end we end up doing a lot better getting the second pick in the draft. So obviously we're going to go for Kawhi Leonard. We tried for the third pick in the draft, 2 first round picks and Trevor Ariza, but Kawhi actually goes number 1, which is annoying. Even though we already have our point guard for future Steph, we got to take the best player in the draft. We got to take Kyrie Irving number 2. And number 3, we take his splash brother, Klay Thompson, so that even in the game they're reunited. And we actually look for a trade for Kawhi Leonard, and they offer us Kawhi for Louis Scola, which works for us. We have to pay Steph Curry $25 million a year to keep him, but it's worth it. So this is what the team's looking like. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, the Splash Brothers in the backcourt, Paul George the 3, Tyrese Thomas the 4, Andre Blatch the 5, Kyrie 6 man, right shooting guard off the bench. It's pretty much a very solid team. We got Yao Ming off the bench. We've got Darko Milicic, who for some reason went up to 77 in this game. So we don't start off the season anywhere near as well as we did last year. At this stage, I think we were 45-4 or something. So it's not looking like they're going to break the Warriors record this year anyway. So at the All-Star break, we're still... Klay Thompson is actually our top scorer, the rookie, 17.7 points per game. But he is averaging less than 1 assist per game, which is nuts. Kyrie scoring more than Steph Curry. And Kawhi Leonard doing work off the bench. We have no one to run for most valuable player. And even though we have the top 3 picks in the draft and we have Klay as the leading scorer of the best team in the league, he's not in the running for Rookie of the Year. We got Paul George making the All-Star team. So we go on a massive run after the All-Star break and end up 68-14. 1 win better than we did the previous year. And funnily enough, most improved player goes to Patrick Patterson. 6th man of the year goes to Johnny Flynn, who was drafted ahead of Steph Curry. So in this simulation, Johnny Flynn actually ends up being a decent player. So we get Kyrie in the All-Rookie first team, and we got Klay in the All-Rookie second team. So Klay averages 17 points for the best team in the league, and he makes the All-Rookie second team. 2K logic. Klay averaging almost just over a half an assist per game. That's some solid stats. And Curry only averaging 10 and 8, which is nuts for someone that we're paying $25 million a year to. So we're up against the Portland Trail Blazers, still led by LaMarcus Aldridge, and they win 2 games in Portland to bring it 2-all, but we end up beating them 4-3. Still pretty much the same team as they had before, except they have Larry Sanders now. Let's go 2-0 up. This is the year after the Mavericks won it in real life, and we end up sweeping the Dallas Mavericks. We're still a decent team with Dirk, and they actually get Al Jefferson, who's an extremely good player. Kyle Korver, Sean Marion, The Jet, JJ Barea. This is a solid team. We faced the Clippers in the conference finals, who brought us to 7 games last year, and we end up sweeping them. So a LeBron James team gets swept in the conference finals. So in this simulation, LeBron James probably will never end up with a ring. We're facing the Bulls again in the NBA Finals, who are still led by D Rose, Paul Pierce, Luol Deng. So it's a solid, very, very solid team. We got 3-0 up, so we decided to simulate with Simcast. And unlike the last time, the Bulls go on a massive run to start the game, leading by as many as 17 points. We bring it back. We bring it back close, end up 14 down with 3 minutes to go. We end up taking the lead in regulation, and it ends up in overtime. So with 22 seconds to go, we are up 2 points, and Derrick Rose gets an and one over Tyrese Thomas. So he's a free throw pretty much. We have no timeouts left, and Kawhi Leonard takes a bad 3-point shot. So in Game 5 in Golden State, it's not going to be repeated Game 4. We get a big enough lead that it's going to be irrelevant what happens at the end of the game. And Golden State win 2 NBA titles in a row, the 2011 and 2012 title. So this team has Steph Curry, Andre Blatch, Tyrese Thomas, Kyrie Irving, Paul George, Klay Thompson, Kawhi Leonard, Yao Ming, Darko Milicic, who ends up being good, and surprisingly enough, Andre Blatch. Yep, you heard me right. Andre Blatch wins Finals MVP. So anyway, thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'm going to try to get more of these out in the next few days.